Hey, welcome to our podcast today. This is Coach EJ, the brand, and obviously Coach Aaron.
The source.
Love it, Aaron. Man, I'm excited today, Aaron, man. This guy, I've known this guy for 46 years, bro. And this guy is, I love respect. What was that?
I must have known you since we were two, right?
Well, let me do the math right. 36 years. I'm sorry, right? 46. Yeah. There you go. I'm just joking. Anyway, with that said, man, this guy, I got a lot of respect for this guy in this business because he's been involved in this and he's really been at the forefront. Well, I call him the godfather of this stuff, man, because he was coming up with these great ideas before anybody else was really thinking about it. And Aaron, I'm gonna let you introduce this guy. I got a lot of respect for this dude.
Hey, yeah, we were just talking about, it's been 30 years since I've known this gentleman. He was instrumental in me starting to work with baseball athletes, and I actually got two of my first professional baseball athletes from this guy. He's a legend, like EJ said. He's a godfather of travel baseball. No one person, definitely on the West Coast, has been more instrumental in the development of what you guys see, for bad or worse,
right.
Today's travel baseball. And we're going to talk about his part in that and what he's done. And that's Rob Bruno. I do want to talk first about Rob Bruno's organization, NorCal Baseball. It's been one of the premier travel baseball programs in the country since 1991. I mean, that's a long run, guys, if you think about it. They've had over 700 D1 athlete commits. They've had over 25 Major League Baseball first round picks.
25 first rounders, 64 big leaguers now.
Yeah. There we go. See, so very storied program. For those of you guys who might not know Rob, but know of his reputation, he's always got an opinion and always has something to contribute to this sport. And I think you got to turn up that volume if you're listening today. So, without further ado, Rob Bruno.
Thank you, guys. As you know, I'm passionate, and I'm doing this from my car. I wasn't going to be able to make it home, so I figured I'll pull over. Good, safe place. I'm in the 24-hour fitness parking lot. It's a great spot. So I do a lot of my best thinking in parking lots right before I head in and go ride the bike.
There you go. Well, what kind of car are you driving? So you're not
300. It's comfortable as heck.
I was about to say, so you're not slumming it in some 1970 beater or something. That seats don't recline in cold seats, huh?
No, but I'm closing in on 300,000 on this baby.
There you go.
I've had 15 years.
I actually just want to, I want you to talk a little bit about NorCal. Give me that origin story, and give me your origin story, because I think a lot of people know about NorCal Baseball and the organization and what you guys have accomplished, but they don't really know where you guys have come from. And I think they need to know where you guys come from to be able to appreciate what you guys have really been able to do.
Okay, so fall of 91. I was actually coaching Pop Warner football, did a little high school football coaching too, but I helped start Pony and Colt right in EJ's backyard with a couple guys, Don Johns, Chick Walsh and things. And we had just done with a 14-year-old all-star deal for Pony League. A lot of the guys said, hey, you know what? I don't want to play high school football, and I'd like to keep playing. So we said, all right, let me, and I got tired of the Pop Warner stuff and everything else. Baseball's my love for coaching. And we decided we'd have a fall program. And I'm telling you, that was so unusual at that point. I would call up all the different groups that we played. And I said, hey, we'd love to play against you in the fall. And they would invariably say, hey, we don't have a fall program, but Keith Divisovich, he's one of the first guys I picked up. Keith would love to play. He's a good player. So we started accumulating guys. Very, very, very few guys were playing fall ball. Just didn't happen. Our first game, I'll never forget our first workout. I don't know if you guys remember fall of 91. Oakland Firestorm, Oakland Hills.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was that day. I was across the bay. I looked over and I thought to myself, wow, there's another big one. Because I remember the 71, because my aunt and uncle, they lost their house up in the Hiller Highlands in the Oakland Hills. So same house burned down, by the way. Incredible. So anyway, we started there. Great story. We go up to Yuba City about 2 or 3 weeks later. And this was late October. Ran into a guy named Bob Teal, Yuba Sutter Rebels. Bob says, hey, great having you up here. We're 21-0. I said, well, that's great, Bob. We're passing out uniforms today. So we play him in a doubleheader. They're throwing this kid named Bo Mitchell. I'll never forget it. We go 9 innings. Bo had to throw 150 pitches. There's no pitch smart, no pitch count. And we beat him 3-2. And Bob said, we're going to take a little bit of time in between. Well, about 25, 30 minutes later, up rolls this guy in a car, some 18-year-old left-handed pitcher. Our guys, by the way, were 14, going on 15. 6'5" lefty shows up. We beat him 1-0. And I said, well, Bob, congratulations. You're now 21-2. So we had a lot of fun, though. A bunch of great kids going forward. We were lucky to have some amazing guys. First year, and here's the beautiful part about this. We've got 2 or 3 guys, including Cy Simonton, Will Mosley, and a couple guys who were on that initial team in the summer of '92. Well, they're coaching for me.
Oh,
they're helping. They're running teams. It's amazing, all the guys that have come back, and it's heartwarming to think, okay, we made an impression, and now you're coming back, and now you're giving back also. Yeah. So. It's been a full circle deal. Early we had, like Pat Burrell. Patrick was our 93. Some guy named Jimmy Rollins, 94, 95. Xavier Nady. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's a good shortstop. We'll get a good shortstop next year also. Not quite the same. When you got a guy like Jimmy, now don't get me wrong, we had Troy Tulowitzki, Brandon Crawford, Dustin Pedroia. But when you have a guy like Jimmy, who's the hardest guy I've ever met in my life, it's pretty amazing. Guys like CeCe don't come along. Guys like Dontrell don't just come along. We've been fortunate, though, that we've had the Ross brothers, who are just better people off the field than on the field. All kinds of great people. So that's what makes it great. EJ's been around this whole circuit, and he knows all the guys that come back. And we've had like 15 second-generation guys now, Tony and I. Tony's been a huge part of the program since '95. He's the left brain. I'm the right brain. He's the analytical guy, and I'm the kind of the creative guy, and I'll come up with great ideas. And he'll top me off the ledge, and there's a happy medium in there, and so it works out great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, hey Rob, dive in here a little bit. Yeah. I love your story. I think people need to know that where NorCal really started. And, you've had so many great people that you've run into. I'm going to dive into this a little bit, the state of the game a little bit, Aaron, if we get into this a little bit.
Let's get into it now.
And first thing I want to talk about these analytics, okay, versus these guys be able to play in the game. Okay, so you've got this whole analytical view, and you've got this whole, I'm going to say subjective, objective views in the game these days. And I think the game is really, it's kind of going full circle again. This analytical thing to me is going to be thrown out the window in here about 3 or 4 years. You're going to decide that, hey, when, all this stuff goes out, it matters to a certain degree, but it's not the end all. And I think there's been a bag of goods sold to the general public that analytical view of baseball is the way to go. And we're finding out that that's not true now. 3 or 4 years, 5 years later, that's not the truth. I want you to kind of explain that a little bit and give your opinions about that.
Lots of thoughts on it. Let's talk professionally first. Professionally, analytics, I think, made a huge statement 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, started really coming in. Now, obviously, you can talk about Moneyball, but I think we're in for, like the stock market, I think we're in for a correctional change. Very interesting when you watch the World Series the last few years. When you get to the playoffs in the World Series, things change. They start playing the game a little bit different. Pitchers obviously are still going to be dominant, but now all of a sudden you don't have as many strikeouts. You got guys cutting down on their swings with 2 strikes, with 2 outs, runners in scoring position. The teams that are winning are taking professional at bats. They're making contact. They're driving the ball gap to gap. They're not worried about a launch angle of 28 with exit velocity 107. They're trying to get a base hit. You see more sacrifice bunts. You see now. Here's the biggest thing: guys don't steal in the regular season. Now all of a sudden they're stealing. Well, guess what? They can't hold runners on because they're not used to it. So the game has really changed when you see the playoffs in the World Series. Now, here's the key. How do you monetize a guy that hits the ball to the right side to move a guy over? How do you monetize a guy that puts down a bunt? How do you monetize a sac fly? How do you do that? And that's money again is kind of a lot of this happens.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though, because we're seeing at the end of the day, when you, like you said, in the playoffs and the World Series,
yep.
Situational hitting, solid defense, doing those little things or winning games. Look, the bombs and everything, it's great. Guys hitting home runs, it's great. But at the end of the day, it's all about matchups. It's all about situational play. And the general public and parents out there, if you're listening, you need to listen to this, because at the end of the day, whether you're a high school coach, a college coach, or a Major League Baseball and professional baseball, it's going to come down to that. And these guys, it's their jobs. They're going to do that. It's not going to be about, hey, listen, this exit velocity is this or whatsoever. He throws this hard. It's going to be about getting outs, getting wins, and doing that. And that's how you get wins.
One more thing about the professional part in the World Series. I am fortunate enough to call Dusty Baker a friend. I coached his son, DB, for a few years. And what he did, by the way, he has more analytics than you would ever think. He believes in it. But he also believes in knowing his players and his players playing as hard as they can for him. And his X's and O's are a lot different. His X's and O's are, he had guys starting going into the 6th or 7th inning when most guys are going in the 4th. He had a hunch. He felt like, this guy's hot, I'm going to let him go. Then he got to the bullpen. He had hunches also with guys that are playing. He's allowed to make decisions based on feel, based on his experience. Right. And you can use those things and come up with a game plan. But guess what? Talking about it at the end of the day, he knows a guy who's scuffling. He knows a guy who's coming with a bad injury, and he's going to treat it as such. And because of that, no question in my mind, that's why the Houston Astros were World Series champs.
Yep, he basically outmanaged the other guy at the end of the day. Look at it.
No question. Getting to the amateur part of it. If you start, and let's talk about even the youngest parts right now.
Yes.
With the way things are with kids, and we've all seen this. We've all coached for a long time. I've coached for a long time, and I see 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds especially. And these kids, you don't know when they're going to mature physically. You see these kids, a great story. We had Jock Peterson and another guy, Cody Slater. They both played on the same team. And Stu, Jock's dad, was one of our coaches. And Stu was an 8th grade coach, and I think Cody and Jock are about 5'3". And he says, "Hey, listen, guys, all you guys are 5'10" right now with mustaches. Doesn't matter. You think Cody and Jock are going to be shrimps all their life? Well, now look at Jock, 6'2", put together, and Cody ended up 6'4". We don't know where it starts, where it ends. Good friend of mine, I think you remember Mitchell Cranston.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Bob was a good friend, and Bob was a great guy helping our program. Bob had the greatest line. I use it every week. Mitchell was upset he didn't play on varsity at De La Salle. Well, we both know as a sophomore at De La Salle playing varsity, that's pretty tough. All his buddies on NorCal, they were the stars of their varsity team. Well, they're not quite De La Salle, right? So he says, "Mitchell, you want to be first, or do you want to be first last?" Looked up and thought, I think I want to be first last. He worked got his, worked his butt off, was EBAL Player of the Year, got a nice scholarship to Cal, got 2 or 3 years in pro ball, and now he's living life and doing a great job. But moral of the story, we don't know where these guys are going to end up. And if we start looking at, well, this guy's throwing 78 and he's an 8th grader, who cares? Great example, probably the best example, Robert Stevenson. And Robert Stevenson threw about 78 to 80, 81, as well as Joe Ross, when they were freshmen. They were on the B team. Well, 3 years later, they're throwing 96, 97, and by golly, they're drafted $2.8 million, $2 million. We don't know. We can't put limits on kids, and if we do, shame on us. We don't know where they're going to be. So we have to have an eye, we have to have experience, and we have to have something to go on from there. If we just look at stats and look at measurables and numbers, boy, we're going to be sadly mistaken.
Yeah, I think, what you said is, and you said these two guys, and I know both guys very well, see Robert every day, but their work ethic is so great. And I think that says a lot in terms of all these young players out there. If you're listening, you may be 13, 14, you may not be the biggest dude, but you can have the biggest heart and work your butt off and get where you need to be. And don't let anybody really tell you can't do it. Just keep working hard at it and keep on doing what you should do, and stop buying into what the general public thinks is your box. Get out of the box and move forward.
Eric, do you remember Daniel Nava?
Yes, I do.
So Daniel Nava moved from Pueblo, Colorado when he was 14 to the Bay. He was 5'2". He tries out, and I said, "You've got great skills. You really do. You're just not quite strong enough for what we do, but don't let me tell you to not play the game. You keep going." I was one of the first guys that said, "Daniel, not quite yet." And he probably got cut 8 times. Now that includes going to Santa Clara University as a freshman, gets cut, becomes the team manager,
right? In
and out stuff, right? Goes back to Mission College, plays 2 years, transfers back to Santa Clara. Now, who does that? Transfers back to the place you got cut from. Transfers back, starts a little bit more his junior year. He's all conference his senior year. Doesn't get drafted. Does not get drafted. Signs independent ball. 2 or 3 years later, he's signed by an affiliate, Boston Red Sox. 2 years later, now this guy kept growing. He didn't stop growing until he's 2021.
Right.
2 years later, he's in the big leagues. Big leagues, he gets there. The hitting coach literally says, "Bases loaded, go up there. We don't know how long you're going to be up here. First pitch you see that you like, swing." Hits a grand slam. This guy's been cut 8 different times. Never took no for an answer. Hits a grand slam in the big leagues. If they wrote the script for Disney, nobody would believe it.
Right. Awesome. I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Great story. That's real interesting. Hey, Rob, where are we? Here we are, almost in 2023.
Yep.
Where are we going in the college game? Let's talk a little bit of college baseball a little bit. Talk a little bit about, I think this is a good subject to all those high school players out there that are really, trying to get scholarship. And there's a thing called the transfer portal now.
Yep.
And talk about how good you need to be to play college baseball now, and the competition that's out there, because I think we saw so many tweets and so many things on Instagram about I've been committed and this and that, and we know what that means. It means nothing until you sign a letter of intent, and then it doesn't mean anything until you get on the field and prove it. So can we talk a little bit about that?
No, we just had a young man, and I wish I would have been able to speak to him. He played for us. Didn't play full-time, but he played for us. They asked him to redshirt, and he's a freshman. He's going to a terrific school, great academic kid, and they asked him to redshirt. He decides, I want to go play. I'm going in the portal. He should have stayed. But here's the thing. The landscape has changed the last 3 to 4 to 5 years. And again, it's partially a COVID thing, partially NCAA rules. NCAA has very little teeth anymore in what they can and can't do. It's embarrassing. With the NIL, all this stuff. So you now have 5th and 6th year guys playing at the Division 1, 2, and 3 levels. You've got 21-year-olds playing at junior college. Things have changed tremendously. Again, we've had a great record on moving our guys along, but that being said, our philosophy is changing, and it's changing to this. And again, we just had a huge commit to an STC school the other day for a 25, and we've got about 4 25s that are big time places, and that's great. There'll always be a spot for guys that are playing top 25 schools, right? The normal people, what you need to do is absolutely find a place that you're going to be happy with, where you're going to make a great 40-year decision. Everybody talks about 4-year decisions, making a great school choice. It's not that. It's that school choice has got to be exponentially who you become after you graduate. A 40-year decision.
Right.
You go to a school that if you didn't play baseball, this would be a great place to get a great education. You might meet your wife there, all the alums and everything else. It's more important to find a great fit as a person than a baseball player.
Absolutely.
If you're making a top 20 list, if any of those schools are in your top 20 that you really want to go to, if any of them are, you wouldn't go there if you didn't have baseball there, you cross it off. These days, you got to find the fit. You also need to do a great job in the classroom. Academically now, 3.5 gets you some kind of money, 3.75 gets you more, 4.0 gets you more. A lot of these places now you can combine. And because of that, you've got to do a great job, literally in 8th grade base foundation, to do a great job starting 9th grade from day one, so that you have a wonderful GPA. Those things are much more important now. Finding a great fit also with a program. One of the greatest things, and again, I bash Perfect Game. A lot of these guys actually are personally my friends. But one of the things they've got online, Eric, and I know you know this, but they've got schools that list all their commits.
Right.
And what you need to do is go in there and find out, if you're a catcher, for instance, and they've already got a catcher and you're 24 and they're 24, why would you even bother spending time there? So you got to find out who has needs, where you fit, what's your criteria, whether it's your major, whether it's area, whatever the case is. Find out the best fit for you, and that's great. Here's the other part. If you've got a school that's bringing in 50 guys, and there's a lot, there's Texas Techs and some other places, they're bringing in 50 guys for 35 spots. That's a problem. That's a problem. A lot of these guys overcommit, bring guys in, and this month and this last month, there's some really tough exit meetings after fall ball.
Yes.
It's ugly, and we tell our guys, you've got to do your due diligence. So Tony and I talk more about where you are as a fit, and where you've got a coach that's going to nurture you, that actually cares, that's actually going to help develop. You know, I had a school, I got on them a little bit. They decommitted a guy, and they what they really did was try to save money. They actually gave him too much money. They didn't ask us what our thoughts were. They just did it because they saw him hit a couple rocket shots in a game. Well, they didn't do their due diligence. If they would have watched, we could have said, wasn't quite ready. Great kid. But once you commit that, because for them, they don't care. They can just, decommit it. It's a one-way street. And what they should have done is ask us, number one. Number two, okay, you didn't see him good after that. Guess what? What happened about developing? These guys want a ready-made product, and honestly, that's crap. College coaches need to learn how to develop, need to learn how to teach. That's why they're there. So you got to really be careful. You've got to really do your due diligence. Trust people that really know, have some experience. And even then, you never know. Yeah.
I like that ready-made comment, because I see a lot of that now in that game, in the NCAA game. It's like they're going, hey, is this guy ready to play? No, he's not ready to play yet, but he will be. The speed of the game is the biggest thing I see from a high school player, even from a JC player going to the level that they're going to, depending, is the speed of the game just increases every time, every year you move on. You move to the next level, speed of the game. And that's a determining factor if you will stay and flourish at that level. Can you handle the speed of play, more or less, the skill development and all that stuff? And you got to develop that.
Yeah, mentally and physically. There's a reason why Aaron's name for his business is Game Speed.
Right.
Game Speed. Another guy that taught me that a long time ago, play at Game Speed or Overspeed, is Jerry Weinstein. Smartest man in the game. He's a great follow on Twitter also.
Great.
He's incredible. Just incredible. And you have to practice at Game Speed, but you have to be ready at Game Speed. You have to have that physicality also. If you're not bigger, better, faster, stronger, along with tools, you're going to get left behind, because now, as an 18-year-old, you're competing against 22-year-old men.
Right.
Professionally, when you play, going from Santa Barbara into pro ball, now you're going against 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds, and they don't really care about you.
They don't care. It's competition. And if you're not right in the mind, as you know, and then you got to get right with your body, you're not going to succeed.
Eric, if you also found, Sean Dunston told me a great thing. We would sit, I go down to spring training, and he's such a homebody. Yes, he's out. And so he and I would go out for 4 or 5 hours, sit at a restaurant, and have a meal, but drink iced tea and talk. He said, I'll tell you about pro ball. You tell me about amateur ball so I can help Junior, who's still getting after it, still working at it. And I love that kid. And so the thing that he told me that instinctively, that when you're playing minor league baseball, your competition is not in the other dugout. It's to your left and to your right, because they're trying to take your job.
Right. Absolutely. You can have said anything better. It is such people don't understand how competitive is at the professional level. They think, hey man, you're playing against the other team that, another dugout. Wrong. You're playing against guys next to you. It's about people's jobs. So that's a great comment too. And it gets super competitive. And I think in the mindset of an athlete, if you're training, you need to understand that.
Yeah, what you got? Yeah, you just mentioned something that I've been thinking about. You just talked about, Sean Dunston asking about, hey, what do I do for my kid? And a lot of our podcasters are in that situation where they've got that 6th grader, 7th grader, 8th grader. And what would be your advice to those parents and how they start to navigate this whole thing? Because like you said, a whole lot of money could be spent doing a lot of things that aren't going to benefit their athlete. And they're not going to really get the most out of what, baseball and travel baseball has to offer. So what would be a few things that you'd advise, the parent that, hey, my kid wants to play, he's just starting out, what do I do?
I'm going to throw out a couple cliches because they're true. Control the controllables. Here's what you can control: who he works with. Find people that are great, that care about your kid, that have your best interests. Don't just go take lessons to take lessons. I think 95% of the kids that go take hitting lessons will never hit. Now 90% for pitching, same thing. Find people that are great to be around. That's one of the biggest things. Find a local area where he can play games and get his reps. But nothing takes the place of getting reps also on your own or practicing on your own. Number one. Number two, my job for a lot of times is to tell my parents 80% of the time, no. Tell them no. Camps, clinics, everything else. Find a mentor. Find somebody that's been around that has your best interests at heart to do that. Now, the next part is this. If you want to go to a camp, you want to go to any kind of showcase, and a showcase for sure. What you need to do, and even if you want to commit, you need to be able to get close enough to where I can see myself going out on that field and competing with those college guys. Like tomorrow, I can go out there. Too many guys go as 7th, 8th, and 9th graders, get their 7.5 PG rating or PBR or whatever it is. That's worthless. Make sure when you go to anything, that first impression is a lasting impression. Make sure that you're ready to go physically.
Yes.
Going to
Yes.
waste of time is probably going to hurt you.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
number two. Again, you've got to be able to compete at that next level before you commit. If you commit too early, boy, there's a lot of projection there, but man, sadly mistaken most of the time. So those are a couple of things right there.
Good. Good.
That's great advice.
Yeah. Another thing, and this is just kind of about travel baseball.
Yep.
Overall. I mean, you've been at its onset and its evolution, and there's been a lot of good and bad things over the years. And, one of the things I was thinking about before is that I think travel baseball has also affected baseball at the higher levels. And here's where I'm going with this. Back in the day when power throwing was just being developed.
Yep.
That was developed for the travel baseball guys. And that kind of got adopted by college and then the pros. They weren't doing that sort of thing. And you can say, well, a lot of that has to do with maybe, the monetary side of it.
Yep.
And in that, but I remember, a lot of the things that we were doing, they weren't doing in the big leagues, but now it's kind of mainstream. And it's funny because I kind of smile and say, hey, you know what? This is one of the positive things that has really helped baseball at the higher levels, but actually started, because you always think of everything going top down.
Right.
This is actually something that started from the bottom up.
Aaron, you were doing this 2 decades ago. Between you, your thoughts, Jerry's thoughts, Tony's thoughts and things, we developed a power throwing thing that is pretty much 90% of what everybody does.
Exactly.
2 decades. I remember you working with these guys, that are, Josh and all these guys, and it was incredible. Chris Grueller was probably the first one.
Yeah, Chris Grueller, Josh Butler.
Right. Yeah. And of course, if Chris was on a better throwing program when he got to the Reds, he'd have been an all-star.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, Josh did get to the big leagues. So those are good things. What's the problem with it now is we're incorporating some things. And again, we learned going forward, we learned some things. We learned that if you're 14, 15, 16-year-olds, we're not going to have you do a lot of twisting exercises with heavy stuff because we have some lower back issues, right? So you live and you learn, you keep going. The biggest challenge I've got now is some guys are, and I call it artificially inflating a little bit their velocity by doing some things. Heavy balls is another one. I don't think you should do heavy balls when your growth plates are wide open. Yeah. Too many challenges. What does it do? It opens up your shoulder capsule and you can lay your arm back, and by golly, you can throw harder. Return on investment, I don't know. Risk reward, I don't know. Too many guys are having surgeries because of that. I truly believe that. And so there are some great things that have happened like that have taken it forward. Driveline made it pretty. They made it cute. But stuff that you were doing was absolutely more one-on-one stuff, more caring about not just velocity, but arm care. Getting bigger, better, faster, stronger.
And Alan Jaeger was a big part of
huge part
what we were doing.
Yeah.
Part. I got to talk to Alan yesterday, and when you get to talk to guys like you and Alan and EJ, all in the forefront, that's what it's about. And, getting back to what I'm doing, I've got 3 or 4 more years in this stuff, and my whole goal is to have a little bit of a correction in the course that we're taking. Get back to some normalcy, get back to what matters, and helping kids. And that means helping all kids. I'll give you a great example. And this whole quote unquote travel ball thing, and I hate that. I think it's a negative connotation. And my definition of travel ball is Little League on wheels. That's really what it's become. But we've left a segment of our baseball society. We've left them in the dust because it costs too much.
Yeah,
it costs too much to play. It's never been a problem with our guys because one of the things that Tony and I talk about is we will never preclude anybody from playing because of finances. Well, this becomes a huge industry and it costs a lot. I know some groups go across the country 4 or 5 times a year. That's crazy. It's crazy. Guys, I'll tell you, a guy that's just doing some great work is Tyson Ross.
Yeah, Tyson Ross.
Program Loyal to My Soil. And
yes.
I want to use you guys also, Aaron, as a drop-off. After high school, or excuse me, after Christmas, we're doing an equipment drive. And throughout the Bay Area, throughout Northern California and Central California, we've got about 10 different locations where we're going to drop off all kinds of equipment. So guys that need it can get it. But what Tyson's doing also is he's got a bunch of guys that are helping out, some young pro guys, different people, where he's giving back to the community, free workouts, free practices, just getting around it. So kids love baseball to love baseball. And I think that's missing in our community. We spend so much time wasting hundreds and thousands of dollars going to big league dreams and then going to Florida for a World Series for 9-year-olds. Do you know that Perfect Game has 9 and under national rankings? Why is that? Why is that? Does that mean anything? Because we know that 9-year-olds will never change, right?
Yeah.
They're going to stay the same, and same guys are going to be the same guys.
Right. I don't even understand it for 13, 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds. I don't get it. I just don't get that. There's 2 rankings that matter. There's 2. The college that signs you to a letter of intent, and the pro team that drafts you. Those are the only 2 rankings that matter. All the other one is superfluous crap that's really driven to raise money for subscriptions. That's all it is. So again, I do have a little bit of an opinion on this. Well said. I happen to agree with that. Being this not as long as you have, but being in this for quite a bit is it's and parents out there, you need to listen, because our company, NorCal, I know we're about player development, and player development's huge, and that encompasses all levels. And player development means the betterment of the player, trying to help the player get where they need to be. And that's so important in this nature. It's not about what tournament you went to and what you win. At the end of the day, hey, and Rob and I can attest to this. We got a whole bunch of trophies and plaques. They don't mean anything. They just collect dust, and I throw them all away at the end of the day. They mean nothing at the end of the day. It's the memories that count, and the people that you meet, and how you grow that person individually.
It's absolutely it's the journey. And I honestly don't have one. We always give ours away to the team managers, the bat boy, the brothers, somebody on the road. And it's kind of fun. We make a little joke of it. We have a lot of fun. But you're right. And what the problem is, I see also, is at the higher levels with 13, 14, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, there's 2 factions. And we call it, for our guys, we want OKG. We want our kind of guys. And that's what we're looking for. And I don't think it's old school. There's 2 different factions. There's groups that accumulate chess pieces that, okay, we're going to go to this event to get ranked. That's pretty much what it is. And what you're about is we're going to teach you how to play the game the right way and teach you how to win. And teaching you how to win, part of that is playing the game the right way, but learning how to be a great teammate. Best compliment we could give in our program, you're a great teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, all these championship teams, whether in any sport that they said that guy's a great teammate, that guy's a great leader, this guy held up. It's all about accountability and about how you care about your teammates. Guys talk about that when they're, they win their big prize, whatever sport is, and they talk about that. That's so Eric, to their heart.
There are 2 things with that. What do you miss the most about playing? And my guess is that those road trips with the guys in the locker room, being around like-minded people, just talking.
Yes. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
You're talking about great teammates, guys that make huge, investments. I think the only reason why the Dodgers won a couple years ago was Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts came in and said, "I'm a winner." Didn't have to say it. Get on my back. I'm going to take you guys to this. And he was the consummate professional, consummate winner. And I think there's no question in my mind, without Mookie Betts, those guys don't win.
Hey, can I tell you this is interesting? The 5 tools stood out: speed, stealing bases, base running, okay? Playing defense, okay? Throwing to the right base, situational hitting with Mookie. Being able to hit with power, be able to throw. I mean, all those tools stood out, and he utilized those tools. And he's not the biggest guy on the field, but he has the biggest heart.
No, he is absolutely the consummate winner. He's my favorite player.
Yeah, I love him too.
And there's no question. He learned it in Boston, took it with him, and that's why the Dodgers won. You see all these teams, New York Yankees. There's not, and and hopefully my guess is that Judge becomes that leader, that kind of thing. I know guys that have coached him at Pat Ware's a friend of mine, coached him at Fresno State, says he's one of the most amazing guys. But the reason why the Yankees won way back was the captain, Derek Jeter.
Absolutely.
Guys like that led them. They led them. There are winners that make differences. Why do you think the Warriors win? Steph.
Steph Curry
is one of the greatest people you're ever going to meet. And he never talks about it, but his actions say everything. Consummate winner. And so then you see guys, that are unbelievable players, like Hardy or any Westbrook.
Right.
These guys, they don't win.
Right.
Guys like Steph win. By the way, the Warriors. You know who the Warriors are missing most? I'm a Warrior fan. They're missing most. It's not KD either. It's Mike Brown.
Oh,
Mike
yes.
Brown, coach at seven. He's the guy in the background. I'm not a Kerr fan. I'm telling you, Brown is the guy that was their glue, and he ran that defense for them. That's why they're missing.
They're missing that big time. Mike Brown is great. I miss Mike Brown. I'm a diehard Warrior fan. I go back to Clifford Ray and Phil Smith and Butch Beard and all those guys back in the day, and Rick Barry and Mullins and all those guys.
And this, Rick was a heck of a golfer.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, the golf. Well, what else, guys?
Well, we're almost out of time.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's on your guys' side. I'm starting to get some lag. Are you guys getting some lag?
No, I got you a little bit about 10 minutes ago, but it came out all right, Aaron.
Good. Well, we're probably doing pretty good then. Let's just take a couple more minutes. If you got the time. You got the time?
Okay.
I'm here.
Cool.
Ready.
I'd say, what would you like to see happen with travel baseball or just baseball in general? I know you alluded to it, more access. For more athletes. That was definitely a great point, and we've talked about that before. What about in terms of just the structure of how things are done? And, maybe, if you could take a magic wand, or you were king of, you were dictator of travel baseball, what would be your mandate? I'd get rid of this, or I'd, institute this.
Well, there's a lot of things. Here's some things that I would keep. I had the best summer I've had in a decade, the COVID summer. And I know that sounds crazy, but we pretty much rented out a field, the Mislin Fields, the whole year, the whole summer. And we practiced like our top couple teams in our 22 class. They just practiced against each other. Not a lot of, first base, third base coaches. They just got after it, and they got reps, and they played, and they played, and they played. 4 days a week, we'd be out there for 3 or 4 hours at a time. And they just got after it, and they got reps. They got incredibly, exponentially better. During that time right before, we told them, all you got to do is go to Zoom class for high school, go to Zoom, eat twice as much, lift twice as much, and sleep a whole bunch. We made more strides with those kids than we've ever done. Yeah. More in a squad. It was absolutely fantastic. What we're going to do more this summer is we're going to inter squad a lot more with our top groups. We're going to get after it. More practice time. When you go to these tournaments and all you do is you play, you don't work on anything. You work on nothing, and what happens is you don't even get to take it in and out. When you take ins and outs, that's like practice. You know where to throw the ball. You know where a cutoff man is. All those things are important. I would prefer, and we're going to do this, playing EJ's team in a doubleheader. Get there, take a little BP, whether it's on or off the field. Take a pregame, go play 12 innings in a row. we want to stop and correct something, we stop and correct something. Oh, by the way, we could have a 12 o'clock start. The stupidest thing in the world is going 40 minutes to a tournament, playing at a game that you're supposed to play at 7 in the night, and you don't get started till 9 because of backups. And then, oh, by the way, you lose that game, you got to come back for an 8 o'clock.
That's ridiculous.
We have to control our own destiny and do a better job with that. Having a local league, and we're working on that. 5 or 6 like-minded teams. We want to find the people.
I like that idea.
Yeah, having a local thing. Maybe we do like a Wednesday, Thursday thing. We're going to start doing this where it's like open field. Come out, get work. Doesn't matter if you're with us or without us. Doesn't matter what team you're on. Get work. There's like-minded guys. EJ's like that. My guy, Dyron and Alec, for the guys with the Admirals and those guys. Lance, Franks, Chico. We got some good people. We've got some good people, and the more we talk about it, the more we say, this makes a lot of sense. First of all, it's going to save money. It's going to save time, and we're going to get better because we're going to work more. It's about reps.
Yeah.
You don't get that when you're running out to Big League Dreams or Twin Creeks, worst place in the world. In those places, you're sitting around. You're getting no reps. You're going to hit 3 times. You're going to spend $6 or $7 to get in, even the coaches. What is that?
It's so out of control now.
And pay a lot of money to get in. Pay a lot of money for the fee. It makes no sense. The only people benefiting at all are tournament directors. Makes no sense. Got to get back to the players. Yes, sir.
Like that local
in and out, repetition. Create situations, create things where players can get better, we just stopped playing so many tournaments, man. That's bottom line. We just stopped playing it. And I'm going to say I'm tired of the competition. I mean, it's just like, what are we doing here? We're not getting any better. We need to play like-minded people. I'm big in that. Play like-minded people. Stop the game, teach, because that's the only way they're going to learn how to play these days. This other stuff's not, you learn it. Oh, yeah, hour and 45 minutes, game's over. What? You didn't play, you played 4 innings, the game's over? I'm tired.
Well, here's the other thing now. They use the pitch smart deal, right? So pitch smart, so you're playing on a Saturday and Sunday. You stop at 24 pitches or whatever it is.
Right.
If you can't get to 25, you can do that 4 times in a game. You waste about 25 minutes. I mean, what good is that? How about just a guy that throws Saturday, then he doesn't throw on Sunday? That's one of them. But it's I love games, but have games with more like-minded people. Have one umpire. Make one umpire. Nobody cares. And I'll tell you what, we do in a lot of those things. We don't have base runners, or base coaches. We have no base coaches. If you're on second base, you have to try and score every time if ball's in the outfield. These are situational things. There's no ramifications, but you got to learn. And if you don't start learning instincts, well, you're not going to be able to play the game. Everything is so micromanaged that it's taken away from that. Eric, I used to watch you in Little League and Senior League and high school and stuff. I mean, your biggest thing, first of all, you were talented, but second of all, your instincts are off the charts. And that's what made you special. I think we're coaching instincts out of the game.
Agreed.
Oh,
agreed.
That's a great.
I think agreed 100%.
Great statement, because I see that from a training side.
Yeah,
I see that from a training side.
Right.
And we talk about, me and EJ talk about how kids don't have the ability to improvise and adapt and adjust. And if things don't happen in a certain sequence, they don't know how to respond.
Aaron, do you find that kids can't organize their body enough like they used to?
Oh, all the time. I most of my work is spent teaching the ABCs of movement than anything else. And that's not to 8, 19-year-olds. That's to 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
Wow. The one thing, Aaron, that I always appreciated when you worked with our guys is that your best work was with our pitchers. Here you were a national sprinter, world-class guy, 10.0200 if I recall correctly, and held a record for age group at one point. But your best work, I thought, was with some of our best pitchers, teaching them how to be more athletic down the hill. We didn't get into mechanics per se, but being more athletic down the hill. And Tony, to this day, mimics that. If your body moves down the hill efficiently, you're going to be that much better. Your arm's always going to catch up.
Exactly. Yeah. The body will learn to organize itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I see though is because, our sport's been monetized, guys need something to sell. So it even goes back to the whole metrics thing. The whole metrics thing, I think, is driven off of, we need something that we can package and deliver to somebody so that justifies paying for it.
Right.
Yes. And it's the same thing with a lot of these things that have come out now. Guys want to package, the velocity of this. They guys want to package this fielding. They want to package this hitting, and they don't look at the individual idiosyncrasies of what an athlete looks like. I mean, to me, I always say this: speed looks different on everybody. I think hitting looks different on everybody. Pitching will look different on everybody, because not everybody is the same. Everyone is going, there's some certain commonalities that you're going to want those athletes to have, those checkpoint things that are going to make an athlete more successful, but it'll look different on everyone. Dontrell Willis doesn't look like Tyson Ross. But the result's the same.
You know how we got that motion? Great story. Dontrell used to play strikeout against kids one-on-one and with a tennis ball against the garage door. Well, he was getting lit up when he was like 8 or 9 years old. So he came up with this crazy deceptive motion with his leg kick. And that's how we got it. Now here's
love it.
Part. Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Love it.
So he's playing for us, and we're in a practice, and I had a pitching coach, Mike Tuck. I was talking to Coach John the other day, and Mike says, "I'm going to fix him." And I said, "Mike, if you touch him, I will fire you." and so he didn't. But John and I were laughing about that. We had lunch about a month ago, because is it normal? No. Did he repeat? And was it athletic? Absolutely. And so that's what made him unique. How you get to, and EJ does the same thing with hitters. You got to do A, B, and C. How you get there is how your body is.
Right. Exactly. And that's what we talk about a lot of, is because kids don't play, everything is structured. So, the parent takes the kid at 5, 6 years old. All right, he has an interest in baseball. Boom, I'm going to put him right in T-ball.
Right.
Well, why not give them that tee, or go out and play with them out in the field, or encourage them to play with the kids in the neighborhood, and just develop some of those things naturally. I mean, 3 flies up, pickle, all of those things, wiffle ball, all of those things we played as kids, throwing the ball against the garage door. I did that for hours when I was a kid. So it's so funny. I listened to you about Dontrell Willis and how he developed that kick. Well, those are the things we're talking about, people, that help you learn to organize your body and acquire that repertoire of athletic movements and skills that you just can't get in a sterile, plant your foot here, turn your hips here, keep your head here sort of environment. But that's what happens, is that side of it is so easy to say, hey, I'll put my kid in this, versus, hey, go out in the back, here's a Nerf ball, and go to it. Throw the ball up and try and hit it.
How about this one? When we were playing, and we were playing against each other, and you might close one of the fields off because you didn't have enough guys.
Right.
What we would do is we would imitate great hitters. I mean, I was right-handed. Joe Morgan. I do that elbow flap.
That's right.
And then a guy that EJ is very familiar with, who's a good friend of all of ours, who's become famous for that, is Gar Ryness, batting stance guy. Gar Ryness is the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. Sangamon Valley Little League, but batting stance guy. He is an amazing on how he imitates guys. Left-handed, right-handed, everything else.
Right.
But some of the things that we learned best was we imitated Juan Marichal, leg kick. All those things made us better because of those things. And it's we've taken all that, we've kind of sterilized everything.
Yes.
Too much.
Yeah. So let's get back to some of that. Now there are some great things. We can build on good quality things, but let's get back to some things that helped everybody. And a great example, EJ, how many hitting lessons did you ever take when you were a kid? The answer is none. Cleve would get in there and throw to you, and that's get better. How many lessons do you think any of those Dominican guys or Puerto Rican guys were taking when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Yeah, but how many reps did they get?
1,000. thousands of reps and reps and reps.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how can we duplicate some of that? I think that's one of the things. And we're going to do a little experimenting with some of that, open fields, that kind of thing this summer.
You got to play. You got to get on the field. It's in the dirt. I've said this forever, and this is why we don't spend a lot of time practicing indoors. And I've always believed in practicing outdoors, and I'd only use the indoor facility when it's raining.
Right.
Get on the field. It's in the dirt. It's it's true. There's a lot of truth in that, and baseball's played that way. You've got to be on the field to get out there and experience the feeling of playing.
No doubt. I'm with you.
Aaron, I think this kind of wraps up one of our great heavy hitters, Rob Bruno, here today, Aaron. And so always a pleasure for me personally to just spend some time with Rob and hear what he has to say, man. The Godfather, the Godfather of soul baseball. I love it, man. This is great, man. Great to have you, Rob. Love it, man. In our series here, the heavy hitters, Aaron. Love it, man. And I'm gonna take us out right now and just say, hey, this is the brand, Coach EJ.
And this is Aaron Thigpen, the source. Rob, loved it. Appreciate you.
Sir.
And we got to catch up soon.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.